Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast Magic is Real. I am Shannon Torrance. I'm your host. I am a psychic medium, and this is the podcast where I interview people about their spiritually transformative experiences with a focus on near death experiences and all things metaphysical and spiritual. I have been deep diving into the world of interdimensional beings, UFOs, cryptoids. I used to be a huge skeptic when it came to that stuff, but now I'm learning that it all comes together in the realm of spirituality, that I believe everything is spiritual, but that all of these things are not independent of the afterlife, mediumship, etc. We are all part of this big, vast universe, and there's so much within it that we don't often acknowledge as being real. I am now a full believer in all of it, and so I'm so happy today to bring to you John Russell. John, I'm going to read a little bit of your bio.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking time to be here. This is John Russell, everybody, who has been a professional psychic for over 50 years, internationally known and maintaining a worldwide clientele. He's provided psychic readings for clients in over 40 countries. He is also a paranormal researcher and investigator for over 50 years. During his lifetime, he has experienced thousands of physical supernatural manifestations. In addition, he is a UFO experiencer with multiple encounters, including interactions with craft and their associated paranormal phenomena. John filmed a TV pilot for the History Channel in which he psychically explored the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. The accuracy of John's psychic insights during his investigations were verified both by the docents at the historic sites he explored, as well as by the production team. John is also an ordained minister. He is a published author. He has written 4 multi-award winning books, Riding with Ghosts, Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, and A Knock in the Attic. His 3rd book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, was published in 2023 and was the #1 bestseller at Amazon in Ghosts and Hauntings. And his books have been endorsed by many noteworthy people. I'm so excited to have him here. I love about John that he is a motorcycle rider, and
Yeah.
he has traveled around. Is it a Harley? I believe, I didn't know if it was specifically
No,
Harley.
it's a Honda. It's a
It's a
Honda.
Honda. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he is a biker who has traveled all around on his bike doing paranormal investigations, and I just am so interested to hear about his adventures, and would love to have been and to be a on the back of his bike exploring all of this with him, because he's such a cool guy, and what a fascinating realm to explore. So John, thank you for being here today.
Shannon, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to it. I hope the listeners enjoy it. We got a lot of fun things to talk about. And one of the first things I wanted to hit on was when you said that you used to not be a believer in these things, and then you became a believer. And, I see the the belief or disbelief pendulum swings back and forth all the time. It always has. But now we're in an era where it seems like psychics, especially, get attacked a lot. And there's a lot of disbelief and there's a lot of hostility and so on and so forth. And I tell people, I say, look, if you want to believe, there are plenty of legitimate research organizations out there. Stanford Research Institute, the Ryan Institute, lots of things that have done verifiable, um, absolutely truthful research that you can verify for yourself that the paranormal is real, psychic powers are real. And I tell people, if you want to go even further, you can prove it to yourself. My 3rd book I wrote, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, I tell people, get that book, sit down and work through each technique in the book and do it diligently every day. And you will prove to yourself that these things are real, that magic is real, that it does exist. And you can prove that to yourself. So I'm glad that you came about to that knowledge. I'm glad I came to that knowledge early on. And it happened when I was 5 years old for me. And there was no denying it because it was occurring on the physical realm. And other people saw it, other people witnessed it. So it was like, okay, this is real. It's there. So I'm really glad you came to that. What was really funny though was by the time I was 18, I was reading professionally, doing psychic readings professionally. I had started doing paranormal investigations and research at the age of 11. Um, I had had already by then tons of physical paranormal experiences, and other people had seen them, other people had experienced them. So these were things that were literally occurring on the physical realm. And so I knew they were real. But the crazy thing was, Shannon, I did not believe in UFOs. I had read the encounters, I had read the books, I had read the magazines, and I was like, nope, this just does not resonate with me. I just can't connect to it. I just don't believe in it. And then I had my first UFO encounter in broad daylight with witnesses. And it was like, okay, now I got to change religions because there it is. So if you will open up to the other side and open up to possibilities, and you don't have to be gullible and you don't have to swallow everything that comes your way, but if you'll be open and receptive, things will happen that will show you the reality of magic and show you the reality of the paranormal realm, of the psychic realm, UFOs, cryptids, so on and so forth.
I love that you basically, that was, thank you for doing such a great intro because those are the things that I would have asked. I agree with you. I did not believe in UFOs. I saw a UFO when I was like 10 years old,
Yeah.
and it was in my backyard. I've talked about this on the podcast. It was then in the paper the next day. I have also seen, I had in my room a big glowing blue orb. This was in the 80s, so it
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have come from an electronic source. It
Right. Right.
was, now I understand, an interdimensional being that
Yeah.
was of extraterrestrial nature. And
Right.
I didn't know
Right.
what I was seeing because it was not like an apparition. It was like as real as you and me, only
Yep.
it was made of light.
Yeah.
And I just sort of didn't know what to make of it. And there was no Google then. And I was a kid. So I'm like, I don't know what any of this is, but I still didn't believe in a lot of that stuff. And what
Right.
I
Right.
love is a man like you, too. You seem like you'd be a kind of a, down to earth, kind of real skeptical guy. But this is something that there are government officials,
Mm-hmm.
higher ups talking about this now. And the
Yeah.
only reason that we don't believe in it is because we've been told that that is hogwash,
Right.
that
Right.
is not
That
real.
only kooks and nuts believe in it.
I know. And you believe it. And then we cut out this whole part of our existence and our
Yeah.
perception,
Yeah.
and we turn our eyes away from it. And then we miss out on the complexity of our universe.
Exactly. What people need to do now, and since we're talking about UFOs, what people need to do now, everyone that listens to this podcast, and then tell as many people as you can afterwards, go to Amazon Prime and either rent or buy the new documentary, The Age of Disclosure.
Yep.
Now, in the past, people have said, well, grandma down the street who drinks too much and may be hallucinating. So the little aliens come and visit her and go over memories from the Sears catalog with her. And she's nuts and is crazy, and I don't want nothing to do with this. If somebody credible comes forward, maybe I can believe. In this documentary, The Age of Disclosure, we have verified government officials, politicians, elected officials, scientists, fighter pilots, people in the UFO programs. So these are all top level people. There's no cranks, there's no phonies, there's no pretenders, there's no weirdos. These are people, mainstream politicians that we all know and have seen, credible scientists that are vetted, that have been around forever and a day, that I've been aware of since I was a teenager, for Christ's sake, uh, verified people with military careers, on and on and on and on. Top names, big names, verifiable names that have come forth and said, short story here, but this should make you want to go and watch the thing, that they have seen with their own eyes that we have recovered alien spacecraft and have seen with their own eyes non human biological beings. Now, if that isn't news, I don't know what is. And if that doesn't make you want to go and watch this documentary, I don't know what else to tell you, because these are credible top people in government, military, science, fighter pilots saying, hey, we've seen these things with our own eyes. They're here. And so please, please watch this movie, The Age of Disclosure, this documentary, The Age of Disclosure. Again, it's at Amazon Prime. If you don't want to buy it, you can rent it, but you should buy it and watch it like several times. Now, I'll tell you a real interesting thing I had here, Shannon, that the documentary, The Age of Disclosure, confirmed for me. Now, the way I get psychic hits is my clients have told me over the years, I've read professionally, as you mentioned, for over 50 years for clients in over 40 countries, which just amazes me. I'm grateful and humbled and honored to have been able to do that. And they've told me over the years, the feedback on my readings and my predictions has been that I'm 80 to 90% accurate. And that's pretty good. But let's take the high end, 90%. If I'm 90% accurate, I can be wrong on one thing, and that one thing could be really big and fall through the cracks. So no psychic on the planet's 100% accurate. It just doesn't happen. Wish we were, but it's not. But I have a pretty good, 80, 90% is pretty fair, I think. And I do get things in my readings, both for myself, things that come to me, and for my clients. And it's a take it to the bank moment. It's one of those things that I know beyond any shadow of a doubt what I'm receiving is absolute 100% irrefutable truth, will not fail. Take it to the bank. What I'm telling you is money. So I'm sitting there the other day here at my computer working, writing, and I've got 5 books in print out now, and we'll talk about those later when people are interested in getting those. So I'm sitting here writing, and I'm writing on my 6th and 7th books. So I'm sitting here at the computer writing, and all of a sudden I get this vision, and it's a take it to the bank vision. And it's a man sitting in like an underground bunker or an underground type, secluded type, military type setting or scientific setting, but it's underground. It's like a bunker type situation. The room is filled with like blinking lights and screens and monitors and machines and things. And this man is communicating two-way in real time with a flying saucer and with the intelligences in it. And it seems like it may be one of our military. So I get this, and I'm like, no. I'm like skeptical. And my guys, I call them my guides and my mentors and everybody on the other side of the spirit, my guys is a group term. And my guys go, John, this is a take it to the bank. And I'm like, there's so much secrecy around this and so many lies around this and so many people that come forward to claim to have information, and they don't. And they make up stuff and they make up lies and they do stuff for attention. And I'm like, okay, if this is to take it to the bank, how am I ever going to validate this enough so that I could even talk about it, could even mention it in an interview? And I watched the movie The Age of Disclosure. And when George H.W. Bush was the head of the CIA, one of the scientists had several private meetings with him, and someone had told in the know, in the military or in politics, in the intelligence community somehow or something, somebody had told George H.W. Bush, and this is in the documentary, that 3 craft had approached, I can't remember the name of the airfield, it's in the movie, the military base, that 3 alien spacecraft, 3 UFOs, had approached the base. 1 landed on the base, on the tarmac. And an alien being, a non-human biologic, got out of the craft, walked over to the flight line where there were uniformed military personnel and CIA people, and had a conversation with them, had a dialogue with them. So it was like, oh my God, there's my validation.
That's what your validation was.
We are communicating with them and have been communicating with them. So that's another, to me, that was the most important takeaway in this thing, because all along in the UFO discussion, even among certain levels of government, it's like, well, we don't know what they are. We don't have enough information. We don't know how to get that information. And in all my interviews, I've been saying for a long time now, that's got to be garbage. Somebody in the government has to know who these beings are, what they're here for, what their purpose is. And sure enough, we do. We've been communicating with them for a long time. So that was validation for me for that vision, for which I'm grateful. But then it angered me because it's like, that's important information for the American people and for the people of the world to know. Who are these
Yes.
beings? Why are they here? What agreements are in place? What discussions are being had? What's going on? Tell us. And I think a lot of the documentary goes toward allaying the supposed fears that we couldn't handle it, that it will create mass chaos and mass
Yeah.
disruption, all this and all that. Look, most people believe in UFOs and or have experienced, encountered UFOs, been abducted, seen them, seen the aliens themselves, whatever, had encounters with non-human biologics. So you're not springing anything new on us. Most of us have experienced that. I've had several encounters in my life. As far as um, disrupting our current technology, I think it would take a while to put these things into place, and that would give us a timeline to be ready to make an adjustment from and a change from fossil fuels, oil and gas and coal and this, that, and the other. I don't think it would end instantly and instantly disrupt the economy. As far as um, disrupting our religious belief system, there would be some people that would go, "Oh my God, I got to go to church and get right with God." Other people are going to go, "I knew this church junk was a bunch of malarkey. We aren't the only ones in the world. Let's welcome the aliens. I knew there was other life out there, or I'm glad to know there's other life out there." I think some people would just be like, "I don't care. Is my cheating boyfriend coming back or not?" It's like
Yeah.
business as usual. And then I'm from West Texas. I'm a good old boy, so I can say this. There would be some West Texas good old boys getting the liquor bottle, loading up the shotguns, jumping in the back of the pickup truck, and yeehaw, let's go get some aliens. I think it's pretty much going to be status quo. Um, the big thing is the adjustment that will come when we finally find out the truth of why these beings have been communicating with our government, what's been said, what's been agreed on, what's been talked about, what's been done. I think that's the big adjustment. And of course, now we know, we've known for a long time now, but especially with this documentary, The Age of Disclosure, we know our government's lied to us forever and a day. Our government's excellent at lying. And people say, well, you couldn't keep a secret, that big secret. Oh, yeah, you can. When they built the atomic bomb, they had a whole town that nobody knew about, that nobody talked about. They kept that secret until it happened. The government is very, very, very good at keeping secrets. I had a dear friend that worked partially sometimes for the NSA. He was a major in the Air Force. He was a fighter pilot, and he knew things that he took to his grave. He took his non-disclosure agreement and his top secret clearances and everything. He took those as sacrosanct, as just religion, and he kept things secret until he went to his grave. So yeah, you can keep those secrets, and they have kept those secrets. But it's unfair to the American people. It's unfair to the world, and we have to keep pushing our Congress people until they put the pressure on enough that we finally get to find out what's going on.
Yes. And the thing is that, from what I understand, quote unquote aliens, who's to say we're not the aliens? They have been here since before we were here. They've been here the whole entire time. If you look at the
They
petroglyphs,
probably have. And
yeah.
I've talked to, I've gone to Native American sites
Mm-hmm.
for to do paranormal investigations, contacted ancient Indian spirits, and they told me that they saw these things in the skies and interacted with these beings, hundreds of years ago. So yeah, they've been here forever and a day. The
That's
strange thing to me is the apparent lack of interest or communication, except with certain groups. Like, why with the military and why not with me on out in the forest or in my front yard or whatever? It's like one of the most phenomenal encounters I had. I've been an outdoorsman my entire life. I've been a biker since I was 15, and I love the woods. I love the wilds. I love to get out as far away in nature as I can, and I love to sit outside at night in the yard. And we had the home we were living in at the time in Florida. We had a outdoor courtyard and a bird cage over it, which is just a big screen over it to keep the mosquitoes out. So I would sit out there at night and watch the stars and watch the planes. We had a little small airport nearby and watch the planes puttering around and stuff. So one night I saw this large, glowing, translucent orange orb come floating slowly through the sky over here to my right. And I looked at this thing and I was like, what in the world? So I'm listening for aircraft noise, engine noise. There isn't any. And I'm looking for blinking lights, marker lights. There isn't any. No landing lights, just this glowing orange orb. And it gets right over in front of me. And I'm like, son of a gun, that's a UFO. And so I stood up out of my chair and I sent it both psychically and verbally. And I said, if you can hear me, stop and reverse course slightly. And Shannon, the damn thing stopped and slightly reversed course. And I was like, holy cow, there's this instant communication with this thing. And from where it was down real low. And from where it was, and in less than a second's time, it shot up to where like the 727s are flying way up there. And no sound, no smoke, no flame, no sonic boom, nothing. It shoots up there and it stops instantly and just hovers there a little bit. And then from there, it shot up among the stars instantly and hovered there a little bit and kind of wandered around a little bit, wavered back and forth. And then it shot off into the universe and disappeared. Now, talk about an old boy's mind being blown. And why that little bit of acknowledgement of communication and then nothing else except just a show of drama. Look at here what we can do. And no more communication with me, although I attempted. And it's been very funny. It's like it's almost like I've been blocked when I've attempted to communicate with these craft, to communicate with these beings. And I don't understand why. I can't get past that. But it's a frustrating thing. But I think that we're getting close to finally getting some answers. And I hope I'm alive on this whole planet long enough to see true disclosure happen. I'm 71 now. I've got a ton of bad health issues and so on and so forth. I think I'll be around a while longer, but I hope I'm around long enough to see disclosure actually happen. I really do.
I hope so too, because I hope it happens, in the next well, I hope it happens tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And I would love to also hear. I could ask a question about every little thing that you just said, but I also would love to know how you discovered that you had psychic abilities. And listen, we all have psychic abilities.
Right, we all do, yeah.
But some people are just more sensitive or more
Yeah,
natural
yeah.
psychics and mediums. So I would like to hear how, as you
That's
describe
more to the
yourself, a good
story.
old boy in Texas, you don't see a lot of that of manly
Right,
men kind
right,
of going, "Oh, I'm a psychic medium."
right, right.
So how did you know? How did you discover? And how did it evolve?
Yeah, I'll tell you the origin story. It's a really interesting one. Um, I was 5 years old and I was sound asleep. And I guess it was probably like 2 in the morning, something like that. It was pitch black outside. Excuse me. And I woke up just suddenly, totally, completely wide awake. I mean, just fully alert, wide awake, no grogginess, no drowsiness. I was just wide awake. And I lay there in bed and I thought, well, this is the craziest thing. And maybe I heard something outside that woke me. And so I listened. There were no noises outside. It was quiet. And I laid there a little bit and I thought, well, this is bizarre. And my parents had left a nightlight on down the hallway. And at the end of the hallway, there was a bathroom to the right. And then the dining room was to the left, around a doorway, through a doorway. Excuse me. And my parents had left a nightlight on in the bathroom so I could see if I had to get up and go to the bathroom at night. So I raised up on my elbows in bed and just kind of looked around my bedroom. It's like, what in the world? And as I'm looking down the hallway, there's this elderly black gentleman peering around the door frame into the hallway, staring at me in the bed. And I screamed bloody murder because obviously my family's white. I don't think we even had any black friends at the time. Certainly no one black living with us. So in my 5-year-old brain, somebody's broken in the house. Somebody that we don't know, there's an intruder here. And when I screamed, this guy walked around the doorway, well, through the door, into the hall, down the hall, walking toward the bed, toward me, his eyes locked with mine. And I knew he was elderly because he had close cropped white hair and a white mustache. He was every bit as solid as you or I. Wasn't transparent, wasn't translucent. He was
Mm.
totally, completely solid. And I can tell you what he had on. He had a red plaid flannel shirt. He had khaki pants, black belt, black shoes. And so, as solid as he was, as physical as he was, this also convinced me that somebody had somehow broken in. I screamed bloody murder again. My parents finally woke up and came running. This all took place in just a few seconds' time. And when I screamed the second time, he began to disappear. He began to get translucent and transparent. Then he vanished. He was gone. And my parents got there and what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, there's somebody in this house, even though I've just seen him disappear. And they said, no, no, you're just having a bad dream. I said, no, there's somebody in this house. Go look. So my mother held me, tried to calm me down. I'm crying and screaming and yelling. And my dad goes and looks throughout the house, checks all the doors and windows. Of course, they're all locked up and fine. He looked under the beds. He checked in the closets. That's how real my fright was. I convinced him somebody's in this house. And they said, no, no, nobody's here. And I said, yeah, somebody was here. And so they're trying to get me to go back to bed. So they leave the main light on the bedroom. And they stay with me a while. And the next 2-3 weeks of my life are spent going, how is it possible somebody physical can appear and then disappear? How can they come into a locked house in physical form and then vanish into thin air? Why did he come? Is he going to come back? Is he going to want to talk to me? Is he going to wake me up again? Is he going to ask me to do something weird? You know, my mind's just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So after that, I started to experience physical paranormal phenomena. Doors opening and closing by themselves, footsteps when there was nobody there, rocking chairs rocking on their own, all those types of things. And it wasn't just me. My parents saw them and experienced it. My friends, other people around me would see these things and experience them. So I knew they were real. And that was what I was referencing earlier. These were actual, literal, physical things that were happening on the physical realm that were of paranormal nature, spiritual nature. So as these things began to occur, and I couldn't articulate this being 5 years old, but on an intuitive level, I understood that somehow that's this portal opening up to these paranormal experiences was going to be extremely important to me down the road and important to other people down the road. So I accepted these things, and I was never, ever scared again, ever, no matter what happened. And shortly after these experiences started happening, I was out in the backyard one I think it was a Saturday morning or whatever, and I was out there playing with a toy, and this car pulled into the driveway. I guess I was close to 6 by then, maybe 5.5, 6. So this car pulled in the driveway. I didn't know the people. I'd never seen them. So I ran inside to get my mom and dad. And I said, somebody just pulled in the driveway. I don't know who they are. And they said, okay, we'll come look. So they walked outside with me. And they were like, oh, these are friends of ours. And I had never met them. So I went on and played with my toy. And they were standing outside on the sidewalk before they went in the house, all talking and everything. And I walked up and stood there and stared up at everybody. And they looked at me and smiled. Hi, how you doing? And kept talking. And I waited for a little break, and I said, you folks have just been on vacation. And I said, you drove that car in the driveway, and you've got 2 kids. They're not with you now, but you've got 2 kids, and you took them with you on this vacation. And you stayed at this hotel that looked like this. It had this many floors, and it was painted this color. And the front looked like this, and there were these trees spaced at regular intervals on the front. And then around back was a pool area, and it was painted this color and looked like this, laid out like this with some lounge chairs and stuff. And the husband was kind of looking back and forth between me and my parents with this kind of weird, silly grin on his face, like, what in the world's going on? And his wife, I'll never forget, it was beautiful. She was like slack jawed, and her eyes were bugged out as wide as they could get. She looked at me like I had cobras growing out of my ears. And she looked at my parents and she said, how the hell could he possibly know that? And my parents didn't know what to say. And my mom's like, oh, you know, kids in their imaginations. And she goes, no, this is not kids in their imaginations. How the hell could he possibly know that? And my parents were like, what do you mean? She goes, that's what we came to tell you today about the vacation we just took. We drove that car. We took our 2 kids. The hotel we stayed at is exactly as John described. How the hell could he possibly know that? And my parents were like, John, go play. And I was like, okay, nice to meet you guys.
Go play,
And
you
I
little
took off.
weirdo.
Yeah, the little weirdo, get the heck out of here. And it scared them so bad they never came back to visit my parents again. And that's when I discovered that my psychic gift had developed, and I could read into people's past, their present, and their future, accurately predict their future. And so I did everything in my power to hone that and to make it good, to train it. And like you said, everybody is psychic to a degree. Some of us have a lot more than others. I hardly know anybody that has had as much, as many experiences and as much input as I have over the years. Mine has operated to an exceptional degree, and it's been marvelous. It's been fantastic. But that's one of the reasons I wrote the third book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, was to teach people how they can develop easily to the whatever plateau, whatever point of ability that they have, and do it without rigmarole, dogma, tradition, ritual. I simplify it. I make it real easy. But that's the origin story. That's how it all started.
Ah, thanks for sharing. I just picture this cute little John, little 5-year-old who's like, I see dead people. It's so
I see
cool.
dead people.
Yeah, and it sounds like were your parents pretty supportive after that, or were they?
My mother always was, because she was a believer. Her side of the family had had a lot of paranormal experiences. My dad had to acknowledge that he experienced these things, but they scared him to death, and he didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to deal with it. And for one thing, he was big in the
In
church,
the church,
and the
yeah.
church is big time against this, as you know. And so he didn't want to incur the wrath of the church by discussing with people or anything. And also, he was a very physical man. He could hold his own in a fight, so he wasn't afraid of that. But this was something he couldn't control.
Mm.
He couldn't get hold of. He couldn't fight, and so that scared him. It was like it was out of his control, and that kind of freaked him out a little bit. I remember one time, one of the manifestations that we used to have was, and we had this a lot. Outside, we had poured concrete sidewalks all over around the outside of the house, made a bunch of flower beds and things. And on these concrete sidewalks, you would hear like what sounded like a woman in high heels walking loudly on the sidewalks, and there'd never be anybody there. So one time we were all out doing yard work. Well, my folks were doing yard work. I was goofing around with a toy or something, probably getting in the way. And we heard these footsteps on the sidewalk. And my father would drop his hoe and run and go look, and there, of course, there's nobody there. And we'd hear him again. He'd go look. There wouldn't be anybody there. Finally, he was like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. So he goes in the house, looks in the house, nobody's there. He wanders all around the house on the outside, nobody's there. Comes back, the footsteps start up again. We're like, see, Dad? And he's like, then he throws his implement down, goes in. He's like, I've had enough of this. I'm not having anything to do with this. But he had to acknowledge the reality of it, but he didn't want to dwell on it.
Yeah.
He didn't want the wrath of the believers, church believers, coming down on him, and it scared him. It scared him a little bit.
Yeah, I'm interested to know your thoughts on physical manifestations because, as mediums, I don't know how it's not, do you still actually see spirit or is it more in your head now?
Oh, I still actually see him.
You
Yeah.
see them. I would think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
I don't, but I receive messages telepathically. So,
Right. Right.
however, my parents live in Virginia, outside of Richmond, and their house is new, but you never
Hmm.
know, but it's not new, but
All
like
all houses are haunted.
all houses, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
Virginia and there's a lot of land and it's so one night I was sleeping there and I heard footsteps going up and
Hmm.
down the stairs, but it sounded like a little kid.
Yeah.
And I thought it was my grandma because she was staying there at the time. And then I looked out and no one was there. So I mentioned it to my mother and
Hmm.
she said, "Oh yeah, that's our ghost." And
Right.
apparently my
Right.
niece when she was young, like I don't know, 8, 9, also heard them on the stairs. So and my mom is very mediumistic and psychic as well, so we talk about this openly. But
Right.
I'm
Right.
so curious about why, I think spirit knows I'd be freaked out. I want to see them, but I think
Yeah.
they know
Yeah.
that I'm sensitive and that if I actually did, I might actually be really terrified if it was nighttime.
Might scare you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I keep saying, feel free to show yourself, but not in the nighttime, only in the
Yeah.
daytime.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
when I'm alone in the dark. And
Right.
I just am so interested in, well, first of all, is there a difference between what we refer to as ghosts versus spirits, and why can I hear footsteps but no one's there, as opposed
Yeah.
to, oh, I know that there was a woman named,
Seeing
Judy the
someone. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It seems like that it's much more easy for them to manipulate sound than it is to physically appear, because it's, or to physically manipulate objects. Footsteps are a very common thing. Seems like it's very easy for them to do. Um, it seems like they can open and close doors, make rocking chairs rock, things like that. So they have this ability to to manipulate objects with some force, some energy, but it seems like it takes a lot of energy and just the right environment, just the right circumstances for them to physically manifest. Um, Over the course of my lifetime, I've had lots of those physical manifestations, lots, and still do. And my wife sees them too. We see them all the time. Our little dog sees them, and it's so dramatic. I had one incident I'll tell you about that was an example of an invisible force acting physically. Um, I had I don't know, I guess late late teens, maybe somewhere around in there. I had been living in an apartment. I'd moved back home with my parents, and we had this pair of neighbors that my parents knew real well, and I knew. And he had developed dementia, and it was really really sad. Before then, I mean, he did woodwork and he took care of his yard and he built things and he played chess and all of this, and then he just became just, you know, the typical dementia patient. Just really went nuts, couldn't do things for himself, became violent, like he would try and hit his wife with his cane and stuff like that. And I was one of the few people he would respond to that could control him and that could help him. So I would go over and I would shave him and do things like that. And he would let me do all these things and he would respond to me real well. And so his wife asked my mom, said, "Can John come over and please hang some new drapes, new curtains in the living room? We've got the rod, we've got the drapes, everything. We just need him to hang it. Obviously, we can't. Would he please do that for us?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to." So she let me in, and they had a long house, big house next to ours, and way back in the back was the den. Well, he was back in the den and watching TV or something, and so she came in, showed me where everything was at, said, "Holler if you need anything." I said, "I will." And then she went back in the den to keep an eye on him, which was at the opposite end of the house. So I'm in here in the living room all by myself, and I set the step ladder up, and there was like 3 or 4 rungs to the step ladder. And to get the drapes, old drapes down, hang the new ones, I had to stand on the very top step of the step ladder. Well, I had really good balance. I had done a lot of martial arts, including judo and tumbling and falling and spinning and all kinds of spinning kicks and things in karate. So I had really good balance. And I got up on the top step, and it was as I was reaching up to do something, I started to fall uncharacteristically. I lost my balance and I started to fall off the step ladder. And this takes place in seconds. It takes a lot longer to tell you about it than it was literally a few seconds time. But in my mind, as I'm falling, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to torque my upper torso to the right because I'm falling backward to my left. And I'm going to torque my upper torso to the right. And then I'm going to throw it violently to the left as I'm falling through the air. And that'll spin me around. And I'll be facing the ground. I can land on my hands and knees and I'll be okay. So as I twisted my torso to the right, this large hand caught me in my hip and my lower back and stopped my fall and pushed me back up on the step ladder and steadied me until I got my balance. And I turned around, looked down, and went, "Oh, thank," and there was not a soul there. There was absolutely not a soul there. So, do spirits have the capability to influence things physically? Yes. And do I believe in guardian angels? Yes. I've been saved by them, helped by them many, many times. But that's one dramatic example of a spirit, even though invisible, being able to manifest physical presence and stop me from falling. It was just incredible,
Yeah,
incredibly.
because it was important enough that they probably would use their energy for protect you from
Yeah.
breaking your neck, because you're not supposed to die right now.
Right,
And
right,
so it was
exactly.
like, this we're going to manifest
Yeah,
into
yeah.
form. And I know I have I lived in Virginia a few years ago.
Hmm.
I went out for 2 years. And have you been to the? I know this. It's a Civil War museum in Gordonsville, and it's called the Exchange Hotel, which you've probably been to. It's
I
one of
haven't been to it.
oh
No,
oh you
I
have to
haven't. No.
go.
Yeah.
So I went there with my friend who's now on the other side. He passed just a few weeks suddenly, like a few months later, but we went because it's an old Civil War museum where
Mhm.
it used to be like a fun like saloon or something but fun place to hang out, but then in
Right.
the Civil War it turned into a hospital because it's right by the railroad tracks in Gordonsville,
I got you. Yeah.
and it's near in between Charlottesville and where I lived, which was like Goochland County. And
Hmm.
it's so they turned it into a hospital for the injured, and it was so small, and they had enslaved people helping with the surgeries and things like that, and they had nuns there, but it's a very small place. And sadly, there were just too many people coming in, so there's this other building on the lot where they would just, if they were sort of half dead, they would just pile them up in there until they died.
Oh, geez.
So
Yeah.
it has a lot going on, but
Yeah. A
it's
lot of
also
energy. Yeah.
a lot of energy. And it's a very, but it's so interesting. I mean, it's a really interesting place, and it's
Hmm.
beautiful. It's like very, very beautiful. So I had been there before. I took my friend. I said, we have to go to this place. And when we walked in, we were upstairs in one of the rooms, and a rock, just a little pebble, just kind of flew right in front of us out of nowhere. So I went
Hello.
downstairs. Yeah, I was like, hello. So I went downstairs, talked to the is it the what do you call it? I know the name. It's just not coming to me. The
Yeah.
person who runs the curator, whatever it.
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
can't remember. She's a friend of mine,
Or
and I
docent.
docent is what I want to say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we told her. She said, "Oh, that's like that happens every day, all day." And she shared that she's a far more powerful medium than even I. I say even I, but then I, and she's not practicing, but
Hmm. Hmm.
became friends with her, and so she said, we want to have you here to help. Like we'd love to have you as a medium, kind of come in a lot, but they have a lot of different things going on there. But she has sent me EVPs from that place. That are little girls singing that they know. There are
Wow.
enslaved children there. There are.
Right.
She's showed me video of things rocking back
Hmm.
and forth,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
do wonder too when people talk about ghosts versus spirits.
Oh,
Be-
right. Yeah.
yeah, it does. It's kind of a lot to unpack. A lot of people say, and I think this is true, that like when you talk about ghosts, it doesn't. For me, I don't believe or I haven't seen evidence of spirits getting stuck. I don't think God makes
Right. I don't think
mistakes.
they do either.
Okay,
No, I
that's
don't
not.
think they do
I
either. Yeah.
don't think they need to be ushered over. I'm not God. I
Right.
don't think they need
Right.
my help. But
When
I
they're there, they're there.
Yeah, but I do think that there are energetic imprints of tragic things that happened
Yeah.
versus a spirit who's just visiting or spent a lot of
Or
time
actually
there.
communicating. Yeah.
And actually,
I
yes, and
agree with
talk,
you. I
yeah,
think that, yeah, I think that there are things, like you say, we get these dramatic, traumatic, energetic events like happen in war and plagues and things. And that leaves an imprint in the atmosphere. And I think that sometimes it creates, if you will, like a movie, like a magnetic, ethereal, energetic movie of some type that replays
yeah,
in that location that's not necessarily um, sentient as we would
yeah,
normally associate with things, and that is not really interacting so much as it's just playing back what happened.
yeah,
So I think that's one of the possibilities. And then ghosts, um, I think those are people that have lived, that are dead, that are hanging around for whatever reason, that appear for whatever reason. I separate spirits into, I think there can be spirits of animals. I think there can be nature spirits. I've encountered spirit beings. I don't know what the heck they were or how you would classify them, but they were sentient, they were intelligent, they had emotion, they had will, they had volition. Um, so there are all these things out there that I classify. And there's so much, Shannon, we just don't know. For all we know, we haven't scratched the surface yet. And I get real perturbed with people that say, "Oh, it's like this or it's like that or
Yeah.
there's this." And that. We don't know. We're not going to know till we get there. I mean, I've had really good communication with the other side and with spirits, with nature spirits, with all kinds of things over the years, and there's still a lot I just don't know. Um, I've had enough glimpses of things to know that certain things are certain ways, and to speculate on a little bit more. But that's it. We're going to have to wait. We'll know
I
when we get
agree.
there. You
Because
know.
I think even though I interview near death experiencers, I do believe that they have gone there and
Yeah.
wherever there is in the other dimension, whatever. And also, they didn't stay dead. So who knows what would have
Right.
happened after that
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
phase?
Because there has to be a process once you are on the other side. Once your soul, your spirit gets there and it's there permanently, then there has to be some type of process, to guide you, to indoctrinate you, to help you, whatever. And I believe that our loved ones come to meet us and help us with that process. I believe that our guardian angel spirit guides come and meet us and help us through that process, but we don't know the exact mechanism of that. Um, we hope and believe it's in place, and I certainly do, but we don't know all the exact mechanisms that are there. And you bring out a really good point. The experiences these people have had with their near death experiences are just that, very limited experiences. It's a glimpse. And how much of that then gets colored through the particular set of glasses that they wear, either philosophically or religiously or whatever. And, interpretation is always a big part of things, because if you're raised straight Christian, if you're raised Southern Baptist, if you're raised Pentecostal, if you're raised Catholic, if you're raised Buddhist, you're going to color everything through those glasses. That's how you're going to interpret everything that happens. So I always
Exactly.
tell people a lot of things is interpretation, and those interpretations are mainly influenced by the way we were raised, what we studied, and what we believed, whether there was any real basis in it or not. That's what we've inculcated into our lives, and that's how we view things. And so, a person that's been raised and as a staunch Christian, Bible thumping Christian in the church, and taught that everything paranormal is demonic. If a door closes on its own, they're going to be casting out Satan, because that's the knee jerk interpretation. So to get to really make progress and to get a real understanding of this, we have to put aside all of the doctrine, all the ritual, all the tradition, and we have to look at things for what they are and interpret them that way. I had a lady, when I shot the pilot for the History Channel, one of the docents at one of the places uh, got me during a break in filming and said, I have to talk to you when you get a break. A ghost tried to kill me. And I said, "Oh, God, no ghost tried to kill you." "Yes, a ghost tried to kill me." So we went back to filming. My guys on the other side told me what happened. So I already knew what to tell her and how to approach her. So we got a break in filming. We went off into another room. I said, "Okay, what happened?" She said, "I was in my kitchen, and in this cupboard across the kitchen, the door flew open by itself. A plate flew out, flew across the room, hit the wall right beside me, and shattered into a G in pieces. The ghost tried to kill me." So the ghost was trying to kill you, wasn't even trying to hurt you. If it was, it would have hit you with a plate. What's happened is that the other side has been trying to communicate with you for a
Hmm.
long time, and you've been pushing them away and ignoring it. And they have some important things that they need to get through to you, that you can't go to a psychic every single day. You can't afford that. They need to be able to communicate with you directly. And you've been ignoring it and pushing it away to the point that they got so frustrated they were like, "Ignore this. You can't ignore this." And I said, "They're not trying to hurt you. They're just trying to get your attention." So a lot of things is with our interpretation of what happens. And
Oh, I
I've
agree.
yeah, and I've done this my entire life, and I've never been frightened. I've never been hurt. I've never been harmed. I've never been threatened. And all of my writings that I do, like I said, I've written 5 books now, and people tell me this is what I try and do in communicating these experiences and in educating people about the paranormal realm, about psychic abilities, is people always write and tell me, the readers write and tell me, "Thank you, John, for taking away my fear of this," you know, because most people are taught to be afraid. and you see the so-called ghost hunting shows on TV, which I detest,
I
and all
hate
of
them. I hate them.
yeah, demon this and Satan that and fear this and
Mm-mm.
attachment this and attack that. And it's like, it's not that way. It is literally not that way. My experiences have been beautiful, life saving, uplifting, helpful to me, helpful to other people. And that's what I try and communicate so hard in these books and in my interviews and everything and with my clients. But the climate out there is difficult to break through because it has this level of fear and stigma that everybody's attached to it for so long.
I'm so glad you said that because that was exactly what I was going to ask you about is that there is so much fear. And that's what I
Yeah,
don't like because I believe that when we feel fear, we project fear, we create fear.
exactly,
So I
exactly.
live in a haunted house,
Yeah.
haunted. I live, this house was in, it's Laurel Canyon, Los Angeles. This house was
Hmm.
built in 1933. It is, we
Hmm.
actually, outside my studio, there's a big cave. It's a grotto.
Oh,
This was
neat.
built into the like canyon. So part of it is
Yeah.
earth, open earth. This house is so unique and weird and has all these hidden rooms and lofts and all these weird,
Oh,
cool things
neat.
in it.
Neat.
So,
Yeah.
in fact, I was like, if you're ever in LA, you got to come see it because I'd love to see what you pick up. But my neighbor is a
Absolutely.
medium
Yeah.
and she said, I do not like that cave. It is, and I'm like,
Hmm.
well, it is creepy and it leaks when it rains. There's rats in it. It is dark. It's not like
Right.
you'd
Right.
want to, it's not very inviting. However, I feel spirit in this house. I don't exactly know who it is because the names
Hmm.
I've picked up my landlord doesn't recognize.
Yeah.
And but I'm like, I know there's someone here named Byron, but I don't know who he is. So my
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
neighbor told me I can tell you there's a guy in the cave who isn't evil, but he's shooting up heroin and taking opium, and he's
Hmm.
sitting in the corner with his head down, and he's an addict,
Hmm.
and he used to
Hmm.
be here somehow. So
Yeah.
I want to know too. I as a paranormal investigator, I know that you personally, do you use all the technology too, the EVP recorders, or is yours all psychic?
Mine's all
That's what I
psychic.
figured.
Yeah, that's all I need. That's all I need to make that communication. People ask me, they said, "What equipment do you use?" And I said, "I use the most up to date, state of the art, finest there is. Me."
That's cool because here's the thing. I'm very skeptical of those apps that do EVPs,
Yeah.
but I did try one the other day because I was like, I'm just curious because I've used it downstairs in my part of the house and in my
Hmm.
roommate's part of the house and got nothing. Then the
Yeah.
other day I went into the cave with it, knowing, okay, this is an app. It's going to be
Right. Right.
subject. I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I brought
Sure.
it into that room where my neighbor said there's evil energy in there. She's like, it's from the land. It predates this house
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it's dark, dark stuff. I don't
Yeah.
like it. And so I turned it on and it started saying knife, hell, murder, whatever. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
could be just an anomaly because of like
Right.
sound waves. Also, I said, just in case, I said, I'm not afraid. I don't
Hmm.
dwell in
Hmm.
dark energy. I know you can't
Right.
hurt me. If there is a trickster spirit here, I love you. I am only here in peace and I am not engaging. I was in there in the dark by myself in the
Yeah.
cave, not
Yeah.
afraid in the least. But my
Absolutely.
roommate freaked out and was like, I so freaked out now. And I said, please don't take that because I could be, this is an app. But
Yeah.
also, I think there is some weird residual energy, but it cannot hurt us.
Right.
So
Right.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah. I agree 100% with what you're saying. And that is so true that when you rely on all these apps and things, you don't know how accurate they are. You
Yeah.
don't know how reliable they are. And I always tell people, I say, look, if you have a REM pod or you have a ghost box or whatever you're using, if the REM pod goes off, you've gotten a demonstration, but you haven't gotten a communication.
Yeah.
And what you're there for is to communicate. Who are you? Who's setting off the box? Why are you here? What do you have to communicate to me? What can you teach me? What can I teach you? Um, so even if you use the tools, they're just tools, and they have to point you to a higher direction, a higher communication. I've always agreed with what you said that there's nothing there that's going to hurt us or to harm us. Our fear overcomes us, and our fear hurts us and harms us. It's not necessarily things there. And are there negative energies and things? Absolutely, there are, because things can't happen um, that are horrific and not leave that imprint, not leave that energy there. And I think sometimes it's very long lasting. Sometimes be almost infinite in its ability to interact with that location. But it's nothing that we fear. It's something we can experience. And with that type of energy, you did the exact right thing. Look, I'm here in love. If there's any way that I can help you or whatever, communicate that to me. So that's exactly what we should do. Is your grandmother on your mother's side? Has she crossed over?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's there in the house with you.
Oh, good.
She's one of the spirits that's there. And she is very, very pleased with you, very, very happy with you, very proud of what you become, and very proud of your work. So
Oh,
that's a neat thing.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was just talking to her yesterday.
Oh, great.
But
Yeah.
yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, I feel her around me a lot, so thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's really, and I also think that, like you said, a lot of people will say my house is haunted, and I'll tell them it's not haunted, it's your loved ones
Exactly.
communicating
Exactly.
with you. So I lived with, when my last relationship, I lived with my boyfriend, and he said, I don't want that stuff in here. I don't want you to bring in ghosts or something. Or he said something like that. And I said, honey, they're not ghosts, they're spirits, and they're here
Yeah.
because they love you. I said, they're not here except to send you love. And around that, I think it was because I told him when my aunt passed away a few years ago,
Hmm.
I said, Aunt June, I know you're on the other side, but can you just, I said, my grandma, who you're talking about, Carmen, she said
Yeah.
she didn't really believe in this stuff. She was very skeptical, but
Hmm.
she pretended to go along with it. So she said, when I cross over, I'm going to flicker the lights. She goes, I'm
There
just
you
going to
go.
flicker the lights. So
Right.
I said to Aunt June, I go, when you get over there and you see my grandma, because they knew each other, I was like,
Hmm.
flicker the lights just to let me know, or like, and
Right. Right.
I shit you not, 5 minutes later, all of the lights in the kitchen started blinking like
I love it.
crazy.
I love
And
it.
that was like, that doesn't happen all the time. I mean, like on
Right. Right.
command. And I told my boyfriend about it and it freaked him out. And I said, no, no, it's literally like, it's my aunt and my grandma who
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
the best. They're
Yeah.
just letting me know that they're still here.
And
And
what people
yeah,
need to understand when they say, "Oh, I don't want all this stuff in my house," that stuff's in your
I
house
told him that.
already.
I said, they're already
Spirits are
there.
around us constantly, all the time. We're just not aware of them most of the time,
Yeah.
but they're always there, and people need to understand that. I'll tell people, I'll say, "Look, wherever you're sitting right now, there's radio waves going through the atmosphere where you're at." And there's country music and there's jazz and there's talk radio and there's this and there's that. And you don't hear any of it. You're not aware of it, but you plug a radio into the wall, turn it on, turn the dial. Oh, there's a country station. Oh, there's a rock station. That's there all the time right now. We're
Right.
just, we're not aware of it. We don't hear it unless we plug the radio in. Same way with spirits, spiritual energy. It's there around us all the time. And if we make the time, learn the techniques, and make the time to tune into it, then we can communicate with that realm. That realm can communicate with us in positive, helpful ways. And, it's there. Get used to it. That's the normal
Yeah.
stage of life.
That is so cool. I love to that. Are you still traveling? Or are you staying home now because you're not
No,
well?
unfortunately, I'm unable to ride anymore and unable to travel. So I'm stuck at home. But
Yeah. I think that's so cool that you traveled around on your bike. And
114,000 miles on just that
that's
bike.
what a
One of
life.
my one of my interviewers pointed out that I have ridden 4.5 times the circumference of the Earth.
Oh, what an that is so
Oh, it
wonderful.
was it was a blast. It was a pleasure. It was just so much fun. Like I said, I've been a biker since I was 15. It's always been my lifestyle, always been my love, and just my first book, Riding with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, chronicles a lot of the adventures I had on the bike, and with a few of the things thrown in, some flashbacks to my childhood and so on and so forth. But that was my legacy book that I wanted to leave. I had written some articles and things, poems and short stories, had those published in the past. And that was my first book. And it came about because my producer for the History Channel pilot, we became friends. And unfortunately, the pilot never aired, but he kept trying to get me back on the air with somebody. So he said, do a blog on the internet and just do some snippets of things that you experienced, just little short things, so that we can point a producer to your blog and say, okay, these are the kinds of things that John experiences. What do you bring to the show? So I did. And I began to have these experiences so specific to my motorcycle rides. And for all the bizarre, over the top experiences I've had, these were over the top even for me. And I wrote little bits and pieces of them down. One day I was standing there in my kitchen and I said, God, I've got to expand these stories into the uh, full episode of what actually happened each time in full detail and collect them and put them in a book because they're fantastic. They've got to be, people have to know these stories, and that's going to be my psychic legacy I leave. So I did that, published the book, and then people were like, well, how did all this start? The origin story. And so I went back to my childhood, wrote A Knock in the Attic, came up through adulthood, and then 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. That was kind of a natural outgrowth. And now I've got the fourth and the fifth book out, the Crying Tree and the Magic Rock, and then the Cansack Ghost. These are all war, true paranormal experiences that I've experienced directly, what they taught me, what I learned from them, what I tell the readers they can learn from them. And they're good entertainment. They're good stories. They're phenomenal stories. And and there's more books in the work. So that's how that all started, and that's how I got going with that. But the latest bike, Melissa, she's the inspiration for writing the Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. And man, did we have the adventures together!
Oh
It's
man,
really marvelous.
I love that, and I can't wait to read them. Are they on audiobook by any chance?
The first two are,
Okay.
the other three aren't yet, but
Good.
the
Just
first two
because
are all.
I have some ADHD happening and it's really hard for me to
Yeah,
focus on reading anymore. I used to devour books when I was a
yeah,
kid, but now I guess I think I have adult onset where we
yeah.
have so much technology and everything's a swipe, and my brain has formed new neural pathways so that it actually is
Right, right.
difficult for me to read, although
Yeah,
I'm practicing because I
yeah.
really enjoy that and I'd love to read your books.
Yeah,
Um,
well, the audiobooks are available at Amazon for
Perfect.
writing the Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead and A Knock in the Attic. And then for the paperbacks, they're available at any online bookstore. You can get them Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Apple Books, Target and Walmart carry them,
Oh, fantastic.
Pal Books. So everywhere online you can get the books. They're available worldwide. People have gotten them in, oh gosh, Australia, England, Japan, all over the place. So it's really been a wonderful ride. It's really been a thrill.
But you give readings still on, do you do them
I
on
still
Zoom?
give
Do
readings.
you do
Yeah,
them online on Zoom, I assume?
I just do them by phone.
Oh, by phone. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
know you can, obviously.
yeah,
I like to do Zoom because I don't know, I like to look at someone when I'm
yeah.
reading, but I have done, I mean, you don't have to.
Right.
You can just do them on the phone. I just kind of like the connection that I feel with someone as we're in person. And do you and then yeah, is that are you still able to do any paranormal investigation, or is that kind of a part of the is that kind of chapter closed and now you're
Yeah,
focusing on
that's
psychic
a
work
little
and writing?
hampered right now. I can tune in on things remotely
Yeah.
and do things that way, but as far as physically, that's kind of hampered right now. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have another question for you, but about cryptids, which is a whole other
yeah,
can of worms. But what do you think is going on there with, for example, Sasquatch?
yeah,
And I never believed in. I always thought Bigfoot was just some guy in a suit. And then then I don't know. I kind of had open mindedness about it,
yeah,
but I watched Encounters on Netflix, which I'm sure you've seen. It was
yeah,
very well done. And once these people started talking about how the creature was there and then
Yeah.
it was not there.
And
It
then it
was like
vanished.
a
Yeah.
flip in my mind went, oh, well, that makes more sense to me
Yeah.
than there's a creature that somehow we don't have never been able to track, but
Right. Right.
they're there, then they're not.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear if whatever you want to share about even other have you seen um, these cryptids yourself? What do you know about them?
I haven't. I wish I
Yeah,
had, but
I
I
know.
haven't. But I do firmly believe absolutely that they're real. And before I forget, let me reference people to two absolutely great documentaries on Sasquatch. The first one, they're both by David Paulides. David Paulides does the Missing 411 series, and he researches people that have just vanished all over the world, vanished mysteriously and never found again, and the strange paranormal circumstances surrounding their disappearances and things. Um, Go to Amazon Prime, Missing 411, The Hunted, Hunted, The Hunted. And this one focuses on hunters who are outdoor people known for being able to spot, find their way in the wild, and so on and so forth, and people that have mysteriously disappeared. Um, in the next to the last episode, he talks to these hunters who had Bigfoot encounters in their camp up in the mountains, and they would vocalize to the hunters, and the hunters recorded them on a tape recorder that they had with them. And you can clearly hear that the Sasquatch are speaking a language. It's an identifiable language. You're not just hooting and grunting and yelling. There is actual vocalization there. And they've subsequently done all this research and everything on this. And they said that it's outside the human vocal range. It's not the human vocal range. It is the language. It has structure, just like we do in ours, and so on and so forth. And then he also now has made a new documentary that's only about Sasquatches. And I don't remember the name of it, but it's on Amazon Prime as well. Just look for David Paulides. And and it is one of the most convincing things that you could ever see. One of the things that always tickled me about the physicality of Sasquatch and people saying, we don't find bodies, we don't find
Yeah,
this, we don't find that.
and they smell.
Yeah, I've been an outdoorsman my entire life. My entire life. I've been in deep woods. I've been in forests. I've been in all the outdoors. I've never seen a bear, ever, not one time. I've been in bear country,
Yeah,
never seen a bear.
I don't think I have
So,
either.
by the same logic, I could go, well, bears don't exist. I've never seen one. I've never seen a dead bear in the woods. And even hunters and people say, you never see a bear carcass. You never see a
That's
dead bear,
true.
you know? So, people use a faulty logic there. And like you mentioned, the reality of these beings is that they seem to be either transdimensional or paranormal or something because they are physically there enough to pick things up and throw them and
Yeah.
then vanish. They're
Yes.
gone, you know? So there is that paranormal aspect to them. And of course, the Native Americans have a rich history with the Sasquatch and with that interdimensional and psychic and paranormal quality with them. So, yeah, I 100% believe they're real. Um, we just don't know exactly, totally exactly what they are, you know?
Yeah, I know. I've gone back and forth about it, and then lately I feel pretty convinced that it is
Yeah.
something where they're coming in and out of dimensions.
Yeah, and they've seen in David Paulides' documentary about them, people have seen them disappear into portals and come out of portals, and or seen them stand there and just shimmer and vanish after being physically present and leaving physical traces, footprints, and things, or throwing sticks or throwing rocks or whatever. Excuse me. So it is just a phenomenal thing, and I hope we get more legitimate and in-depth research into it because it's just so fascinating. You know, we share this planet with so many incredible things, and instead of fearing them or poo-pooing them or denying them or whatever, we need to be interacting with these things, and we need to be understanding, like you said, more of what goes on this planet and how it's all connected and how we're all interconnected.
Yeah, and that's part of we talked about earlier. I mean, that's why this podcast is called Magic is Real, because I used to be a total atheist, skeptic,
Yeah.
agnostic. I'm Gen X, man. And I was smoking cigarettes, wearing my Doc Martens, listening to Alice in Chains, still one of my favorite bands of all time.
Oh, me too. Me
Oh
too.
yeah, I
Yep.
mean, God, man, I'm a grunge girl, and I was at that time like just. I used to say we die and turn to dust,
Right.
and I
Right.
was all emo and depressed. But
Yeah.
I think I wish that more people would embrace this stuff and not look at
Yeah.
it as woo. I don't even think woo woo's a bad word, but I mean, even, you get the backlash on, not a
Sure.
lot, but there's on Instagram, like people going, oh, yeah, you're delusional. You don't even know. Someone wrote
Right.
to me the other day, like, you're delusional. There's no such thing as psychic mediums. And I'm like, have you ever even, you're just
Have
speaking
you
to
ever
something like,
even
this is what
tried
I
to
do.
investigate? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I do this. Like, this is, if until you, and the guy had like wraparound sunglasses and a baseball cap and like a shirtless photo. And he's all like, douche.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
you literally don't know anything about this. And until
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
and I didn't justify it with a response. The beauty was that the
Yeah.
person, somebody commented saying, put some clothes on, dude. And then she and I started talking, and she was like, I'm actually a near death experiencer. And it's
Oh,
happened
cool.
to me. And then I turned her onto the podcast. And so it's like,
Yeah.
it brings people together, but I understand because I was there. But I
Yeah.
think, imagine what a better world we'd have if.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, one of the most marvelous things that happened to me, uh, speaking of people that didn't believe, and even among a person that did, one of my podcast interviewers, and I'll talk about him last. But
Yeah.
first, this woman sent me this email, and she said 5 years ago, she said my mother bought me a copy of Writings of Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. And she said, I didn't believe in this, didn't believe in psychics, didn't believe in the paranormal, was not in that headspace. And I was like, okay, thanks, whatever. And she said, I didn't throw it away, but I didn't read it. I just packed it away. And she said, the other day, I was going through boxes, and there's your book. And I was in a totally different headspace now. I'm more open now, more receptive now. So she said, well, I'll take this out and I'll put it up on the bookshelf and I'll get around to it. I'll read it. And she said, John, every single day, your book would be off the bookshelf, laying on the floor in front of my door. And I would pick it up and I would put it back on the bookshelf. And I'll say, okay, I've got to get to this. The next day, the book would be off the bookshelf, laying on the floor in front of my door. Physical paranormal manifestation happening. So she said, I got into the book, I read the book, and she said, I began to physically experience some of the things, same things that you write about in the book that you experienced in the book. So I was like, oh my God, that's so great. That's why I write these books.
Yeah.
And then in one of my later books, I talk about this paranormal gnat that I've had manifest in my life for decades. And so one of my interviewers over in the UK, uh, we got to talking. He's like, John, he said, I don't have gnats here. And he said, I read that chapter about the paranormal gnat and I marked it and I closed the book and put it down to make some notes. And when I put it down, there's a gnat flying around here in front of me.
That's funny.
I was like, oh my God, I love this. So people that really need this and really need to believe and really wanting to make that connection, that's happening through the books I've written and in concrete physical paranormal ways. And it's so delightful. It's just like, because writers don't get rich. We don't make a lot of money.
I
People
know.
think we do. We don't. James Patterson makes money. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So writing is hard and it's a labor of
Yes.
love. You don't make a lot of money, but you have this information that you believe in that's important, that you want to get out there. And having done that, and then getting these responses and seeing that feedback, it's like, oh my God, that's the greatest thing in the world. So that's why I keep writing, why I keep doing these books.
Yeah, I'm writing a book as well.
Oh,
Uh,
excellent.
so it's three-quarters the way, well, done until editing gets into it. But it is
Right.
about recovery from sex and love addiction. But more importantly, I'm not writing it about me. It's for people and my spiritual awakening. So at
Right.
first,
Right.
I just wanted to write about the addiction and self-love and how you how you find self-love, how you heal from addiction in general. It doesn't have to be sex and love. It could be anything,
Right.
because
Right.
in my mind, sex and love addiction is the core of all addictions. Love,
Yeah.
lack of
Yeah.
luck, not love, finding that
Yeah.
love and what we reach for. But then, and I thought maybe I should keep the spiritual stuff separate because I don't want to turn anyone off. And then
Mhm.
I got stuck. And I realized it was because this is my story. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't resonate, it doesn't. But the spiritual awakening is it's a huge part of finding
Exactly.
peace. It's a huge part of
Exactly.
finding
Yeah.
love. And hopefully someone will read it with an open mind that may not believe. And I tell them about how I found out that I could talk to dead people,
Yeah.
and how we're all talking to dead people, but we just don't know it. And how we
Exactly.
can heal
Exactly.
using spirit,
Yes. Yes.
together with our higher self, with our spirit guides, with one another.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I want this to be healing. I there's so much horrible hate
Yes.
in this world, and
Yeah.
I just wish every single person who is maybe not of love would just have a near death experience, or
Yeah.
an ayahuasca experience, whatever.
Some spirit intervention, something.
Yeah, like,
And, the sad thing is a lot of people have had that and they push it away or ignore it or say, oh, that was just coincidence or that was my imagination. And when you do that, it makes it harder and harder for spirit to come through and for spirit to communicate. So, I always tell people, I'll say, look, when you have an experience that is a spiritual experience, paranormal experience, don't discount it. Don't say, oh, that's just my imagination or wishful thinking or that was coincidence or whatever. Don't do that, because then you're closing that door even harder to
yeah,
communication with the other side. Receive that, accept it, integrate it into your life, and grow from there, because it is there if you'll accept it, if you'll open up to it.
that's a great place to end. I
Yeah,
think that's a great way to sum it all up. John Russell, I adore you. I'm so glad we got to connect. I
me
look
too.
forward to
Thank you, Shannon.
following more and being in touch. I feel such a passion for this work, and I know you do too. So it's
Yes.
so rewarding to meet other like-minded people that we're all on
Yes,
this
it
sort
is.
of
Yes, it is.
mission, right? To
Yep.
not indoctrinate anybody, but just to let people
Enlighten.
know, enlighten
Enlighten.
them,
Yeah.
because look, we're all made of the same stardust, and
That's
we're
it.
stuffed into different bodies and different
Yep.
forms, but we're literally all one.
Yep.
And so I want
Yep.
people to know that. And thank you for helping to share what you know as well. I'm just so happy that you came to be with me today. So, John Russell, I will have his information below if anyone wants to work with him. I definitely want to get a full length reading. So I'll have to go on your website and book that with you. But thank you again so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Shannon. It's been my pleasure, been an honor, and we'll do it again down the road.
Yes, for sure. Take care, John.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.